Don't listen to Ariel.
Good morning. We are here with Mr. Johann Moxam, who's part of the CPR group, giving us some breaking details this morning. Johann, good morning.
Morning, Sandra, and good morning to the listening and viewing audience.
All right, so a little bit of a Cayman Mall Road exclusive. Anne, thanks for tuning in. Anne's already tuned in and watching. I see a couple of you coming online. So essentially, we want to provide an update. As you guys know, this has been going on for how long now?
About 8 months, 9 months.
Okay, so this group has been in it for the long haul, trying to get a referendum, a people-initiated referendum going in regards to the cruise port. First of all, Johann, why is this an important topic? Like, why should we care?
Well, first of all, just let me start off by saying thank you to each and every volunteer and member of the Cruise Port Referendum Group. Thank you to every person that was brave enough to sign the petition. Thank you to everybody who supported the initiative, who has their own questions, and who understands that this is how a participatory democracy works. We're making history by meeting the threshold and actually exceeding the 25% registered voter threshold to trigger a people's initiated referendum under Section 70 of the Cayman Islands Constitutional Order 2009. The reason why this is important and why people should pay attention is because effectively this project that is being proposed by the government, whether you support it or do not support it, or whether you have questions and have stayed out of the fray thus far, will be the largest, most complex, most expensive capital works project in the history of the Cayman Islands. For the government or anybody to tell you that the Cayman Islands government and the public purse will not have to contribute to the project, that for many of us is a clear misrepresentation of facts and disingenuous, because in life and in business there's no such thing as a free lunch. At some point you have to pay the piper, and the cruise lines who are helping to finance the deal and the other private financiers aren't doing this because they're charitable organizations. They aren't profitable because they believe in charity. This is a business enterprise where they are seeking to make a profit. Now, I'm not saying you have to agree with me or anybody else in the pro-port side of things, but you have to pay attention, because this project, the costs associated, the concerns and the myriad of issues that impact the environmental, financial stability and the socio-economic concerns of this country impact every single citizen, resident, voter, current generation, future generation. So it's a huge project. It's going to be the most expensive project undertaken in the Cayman Islands from a capital works perspective, and ultimately the public purse will have to contribute to it. That's why I care, that's why many people care, and that's why you should care.
Give us an idea of how many volunteers, Johann, you've helped assisting with this, because I've seen them at various venues, supermarkets, all over, trying to get signatures.
No, we've been really fortunate. We've had a collection of, I would dare say, between 40 and 50 volunteers made up of all types of Caymanian, multi-generational Caymanians, new Caymanians, youngsters, oldsters, every color, age group, kind of person. And the best thing about this, in my opinion, is the fact that you have a diverse group of Caymanians that are unified for a cause. We have been fighting to get to these numbers. We have had to deal with the government using public funds to campaign against regular Caymanians exercising their democratic rights afforded to them under the Constitution, or by the Constitution, under Section 70. The same government that effectively introduced the Constitution fought the people to deny them the opportunity to exercise their rights for a people's initiated referendum. The question that we should all be asking is why? Why is the government afraid of us all asking questions? Why are they afraid to give us answers? And why do they think that the views of a select few persons matter, whilst the majority don't, and the majority will have to pick up the tab, whether it be financial, environmental, or even from a socio-economics perspective? These are the things that the government got wrong. They did not anticipate that people could be united and galvanized and work together. And this is the best example of people power. Any issue in the Cayman Islands that you have, that a group of persons have, you can address, you can bring to the public forum and to the government if you have a collective purpose, and you're united and you are consistent and committed. What we're doing is unprecedented and historic.
Let's talk a little bit about the process, the people's initiated referendum under the Constitution, and how that works. Because as you just mentioned, this is a historic movement because it's the first time that it's been done. Obviously, the Constitution was quote-unquote modernized some years back, and this government, at least the PPM government, pushed that through. So it's kind of ironic that it's now, the people using it, using at least one element of that current Constitution to force the government to listen to them. But explain to us how that process works under the Constitution. You've mentioned this 25% threshold. What is that all about?
Well, in order to trigger a people's initiated referendum, Section 70 of the Constitution clearly states that the petition has to gather registered signatures of 25% of those persons on the electoral register. We are fortunate enough to be having a meeting with the election supervisor and the elections office on Tuesday the 28th of May, next week Tuesday, where, because this is unprecedented, we will be hearing from the authorities themselves as to how this process is to play out. Once we've had that meeting with the elections office, we're more than happy to share and put in the public domain, because we believe in full transparency, we believe in accountability, and we believe in good governance. We will share the findings and the recommendations of the election supervisor and the elections office as to exactly what the process entails, how it will work, and so on and so forth. But it's important to understand that the government and the cabinet play a crucial role, because this is not a matter where they can ignore the will of the people. We have exceeded the threshold of 25%, but the government will be the cabinet will be the ones posing the questions for the referendum, and they set the timeline for when the referendum should happen. I anticipate the government will fight us. They fought us at the beginning. They will continue to fight us, because what they fear more than anything else is unity of the people, and people exercising their rights and their power and participating in what democracy truly looks like. Because if you look at them, you've had people that were campaigning and have built their political careers against the cruise berthing project, yet they got elected. They've changed their tune 180 degrees. They drank whatever Kool-Aid has been served, and now they're the biggest proponents for this being the best thing for Cayman. My question is this: if the process was flawed in 2012, when the Foreign and Commonwealth Office intervened to prevent the deal being signed with China Harbor under the McKeever-Bush UDP government, how is this same deal acceptable to the people that fought the deal, the opposition, which was then the PPM, in 2019? What has happened, and why are they unwilling and unable to share with the public the full details of this deal and explain to us exactly what is going on? We've asked questions publicly, we've asked questions privately, and the government have been non-responsive. They have been disingenuous, and more importantly, they've spent your money, the public money, to fight against citizens exercising their democratic rights. So you can anticipate that they're going to put up a fight, because this is about them reaching an objective, but they didn't anticipate people standing up, speaking out, being united, and finally, and for the first time, saying, no, we want answers because we have questions, and we will be holding you accountable. So there's more to come from this. I would suggest or recommend that everyone pay attention to this, because this is the government fighting the people in what should be a transparent and participatory, democratic manner. But it has never been fair. They're going to be using, as they have previously, government resources, public funds to fight private citizens, and that speaks volumes about their character, their intent, and what they're trying to achieve as the leaders of our country.
It's been a long 8 months, Johann. A lot of people have questioned whether or not you guys would even get to this point. So congratulations for sure on reaching that mark. Can you explain the process that you've undertaken to ensure that the petition itself actually has met that threshold?
Okay, we have utilized the same mechanism and system that will be utilized by the elections office. We verified signatures and names, addresses, and your registration numbers based on the same electoral register provided by the elections office. We've gone through our internal review process. It is now for the elections office and the supervisor of elections to verify as the official agency that we have valid signatures, or the valid amount of signatures in order to proceed. And again, we'll have more information to share with the public coming out of the meeting with the elections supervisor.
Okay, and if people may still be interested in actually signing the petition, just to make sure that you've got the sufficient numbers, would you recommend, if someone has been thinking about it, that they still jump on board?
The momentum doesn't stop. We keep going. This is the first time that we've had a large cross-section of private citizens say, I want to participate, and I want to know, and I want the information. And the only way that you can get the attention of the government to do so is by signing the petition, which effectively gives them a clear sort of mandate that the people have questions and the people want answers and the people want to participate in the decision-making process, because this is not a $100 million project. This is not a $150 million project. This project will exceed easily $350 million. And I challenge the government to show us all of the relevant, updated information. Before you build a house, you got to know what your budget is. You got to know how much you want to spend. So for the government to say, well, cost doesn't matter and we can't afford not to do it, if we're now at record numbers of 1.92 million cruise passengers a year in 2018, at the end of 2018, but this project will require easily between 2.5 million to 3.4 million by 2024, that means there are several other questions that come out of this. One of the first questions I have is, who's going to pay for the infrastructure? Because the cruise line isn't going to pay for the additional infrastructure that is required to accommodate that many people. Secondly, if this project is the panacea that the government claim it is, they should be more than happy to share all of the information with the public, hold district meetings, hold public meetings, and fully be transparent, operate within the best practices of good governance and transparency. But we've seen what their version of good governance is. On September the 26th, 2018, the Ministry of Tourism, the Cayman Islands government, had a public meeting at the Family Life Center where they had bidders, or part of the Verdant Isle bid team, up on the stage sitting next to the Minister of Tourism, Moses Kekernel, sitting on the same platform as the procurement office, who are responsible for reviewing all the bids. There were cabinet ministers in the front row, there were members of the Port Authority Board, there were senior officials from the Ministry of Tourism, and nobody was prepared to tell the country, oh, by the way, we've got bidders on the stage here that want to speak to you about this project. Those bidders were representatives from Royal Caribbean Cruise Line and also Carnival Cruise Lines. The fact that the government tried to hide that fact, and it took private citizens like myself and others pointing out to them, what are bidders doing up on the stage? You can't trust people that try to hide and are disingenuous from the outset. So the question remains, why the lies? Why the charade? Why the misrepresentations of fact? This is something that is too important for the country to get wrong. The impact will be significant for each of us, financially, environmentally, and from a socio-economic perspective, and it And it is a job of the government to be open, transparent with the people and to operate within the guidelines of best practices of good governance. They have failed to do so. The governor seems to think that they're operating within the guidelines, but he's just reached here, to be honest with you. I will say this. If this government was led by McKeever Bush, operating exactly the same way that they're doing now, there would be investigations, there would be public outcry from the same members of the PPM-led coalition who fought him tooth and nail. And all I'm saying is you need one standard of transparency, one standard of accountability, and one standard for what represents good governance in the Cayman Islands. And right now, the government have failed to make a compelling business case. They have failed to share the information with the people, and the people are now demonstrating that we demand answers, because ultimately we will be forced to pay for their decisions and the consequences of their actions.
All right, folks, you've been listening to Johann Moxam, one of the leaders for the Cayman Islands Support Referendum, people-initiated referendum. And again, if you just tuned in to this live stream event, we can confirm that they have reached and exceeded the threshold of 25%, which is what triggers the way forward, really, to actually have this referendum. So this is an amazing historical moment that has been 8 months in the making. And I want you guys to stay tuned to Cayman Mall Road, of course, because we'll bring you additional updates in terms of how this process will work. And again, you know, congratulations, Johann, and all of the supporters that you've had behind you, all of those volunteers that you spoke about earlier today, because certainly it was a combined effort that made this possible.
It was all about teamwork, and it's all about people coming together for a common purpose and wanting to participate. Again, I'm not the leader of anything. I'm just a participant and a cog in the machine, and it took several links in the chain to get us to this point. But the government are now on notice. You can't ignore the will of the people when the people are united, committed, and demanding transparency, accountability, and for the government to operate within the confines and principles of good governance. So I want to say thank you to everyone that supported us, especially the volunteers who did all the hard work to get us to this point, but also to the people that were brave enough to sign the petition to say, yes, I want to participate in this democratic process because I have answers that the government refuses I have questions that the government refuses to answer.
All right, folks, so again, stay tuned for further updates. We'll definitely be informing you how this process, the referendum. And if you still want to sign the petition, you can reach out to the various members of the group. They're available on social media. Most of you have them on WhatsApp, and you can get their details and definitely sign the petition.
Thank you.